Alrighty, welcome back to my channel, Maybe Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing a little book haul from America. We are back in my parents' house. Some of you might recognize this background from the gigantic US book haul that I did a couple of years ago. At this point, I'll have that link down below. And while this does not hold a candle to that, I still did quite a bit of damage while I was here. I am currently still in the States, obviously. We were supposed to have returned to Japan by now, but unfortunately I caught the Rona after years of, dodging the bullet. And so we ended up staying an extra week. I'm still recovering from being sick, so if my voice is weird, it honestly feels a little raspy right now. Just bear with me, I'm still recovering. But I thought since I have a couple days left here, I still have a chance to film and talk about the books that I bought while I was here. Now, as someone who lives in Japan, I was thrilled to be able to walk into a bookstore and be able to pick out any book that I wanted. It was just a kid in a candy shop. I was having the time of my life, which is why I may have done a little bit of damage here. Most of these books are from two trips, one to Kramer's in Washington, D.C., and then one at my local Barnes & Noble. Although there are a couple books here that I did receive in the mail that I had shipped here rather than to Japan, so why don't I just start with those first? There are also a fair amount of these that I've already read, but I'm going to wait to talk about my actual thoughts on the book for when I do a wrap-up. So here we're just going to show the books that I bought. I'll mention whether I've read them or not, but we're not really going to go into it here. Also, I'm recording on my phone and I'm very bad at this, so pardon me if I'm looking in different directions. I know I should be looking at the camera, which I'm doing right now, but I'm going to forget throughout filming this video. I'm going to look in weird places. Just bear with me. So the first book that I got in the mail that I want to talk about has been on camera this whole time, and that is Jade Shards by Fonda Lee. This is my second sub-press edition, the first one being The Jade Setter of Jan Loon, which I did haul in that previous big book haul that I was talking about. So I now have the matching set. They are beautiful together. These are my only two sub-press books, but the quality is incredible. There was no question I was going to get these, though, because Fonda Lee just says I wrote something new and I jump on it. I am a simple woman. It doesn't take much. So this is the cover for Jade Shards. It is absolutely gorgeous. And it is a cloth-bound novella. It's also stitched binding, and each page has a border around it. The quality is just incredible. And I have already read this, so that's what the titles look like. I have already read this book. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about it when I go into my wrap-up, but I thoroughly enjoyed this collection of short stories. Now, the next three here are ones that if you've been on the internet, I'm sure you've already seen, because I'm late to the party in actually being able to touch and get my physical copies, because again, these were shipped to the States rather than to Japan. But that would be the Secret Projects from Brando Sando. So the first one is Tress of the Emerald Sea. I've already read this book, and I've already talked about it in wrap-ups. I read the ebook edition of this, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, and I love this story. It's so close to my heart, and to be able to finally have it in this absolutely stunning edition is just. I really wish that I had time to reread it in this edition, because I'm sure you've seen online elsewhere. Let me take all the little goodies out. But it's just gorgeous. It's an absolutely gorgeous book. It's got full color illustrations. Let me see if I can find, of course, as I say that, I can't find any. It also has section separators. That's not the right word. It also has headers that change and grow as you go through the story. Let me find an illustration for you guys real quick. Here's one, full color illustration. It's a beautiful story in a beautiful package, and I'm so happy that I backed the Kickstarter, because I would be so upset if I did not have this edition of this story. The next one is actually the book that I'm reading currently, and that is the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. It's also just a high quality product, very premium. It has that faux leather feel to it as well. Here are, take this bag out again, here are some of the end pages here. It's absolutely gorgeous. And what I really like about this is not only are there full color illustrations like this, there's also these little like cartoons along the way. Let me see if I can find one. Here's one that just are on the bottom of the page or around the border. And they bring me such joy while I'm reading them. There's also sections of this book that look like it was torn out of a book, if that makes sense. So we have that here, also chapter headings. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. And even though the story inside isn't my favorite that he's done thus far, where am I? I'm this far through. I do plan to finish this while I'm here. Even though it's not my favorite, the story is not my favorite, I'm enjoying my experience immensely because of all the little details in there. So when Brandon Sando said premium, he meant it. And that continues on with the third one, which is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Again, just look at that. It's just gorgeous. And the inside does have color blocking like all of the other ones, but it has 2 colors throughout the entire book, which is just, excuse me. It does have little chapter separation things as well as full color illustrations, as we've come to expect. Oh my gosh, I forgot to take the swag card out. Everything's fallen out. There's a full color illustration. Let me show you the end papers as well. Here's the back end paper, the front end paper, and then the chapter headings. Just gorgeous. I don't know anything about this book. I haven't looked up any spoilers or anything like that. I do know that it is Cosmere, so you know I'm a sucker for Cosmere. Excited to get to it. My hope is to finish this one and then pick up this one, finish both of them before we go back, because I don't want to bring these back over to Japan. Basically, any extra travel is chances for it to get beat up, and I don't want that to happen. So if I can finish these before I go back, I'll be very happy, very excited. Everything is falling. I just lost a little pom-pom for my mic. Let's go ahead and fix that first. So we'll see if I can finish these before I head back. Now, these next ones are all things that I bought when I was very kid in a candy store, physically going through the shops. This first one I had already read even before I decided to buy it this time around, and that is Hood Feminism. I first read this a couple years ago via audiobook, and I really enjoyed my time with it. There were sections of this that really stood out to me, especially the section on gun violence, and I just knew that this was going to be a book I wanted to read the words physically in tab and have available to look back at in the future, so I decided to finally get myself a physical copy. This was also part of a buy one, get one 50% off sale that they had going on, so I just couldn't resist. Also part of that sale, we have here Lady Killers. Now, I just realized I forgot to take the sticker off before filming. God, stickers will just forever be my nemesis on this channel. But yes, this was part of that sale as well. I don't know anything about this except for it was on a table that said it was nonfiction that reads like fiction, which got my attention right away. And basically, this is just about female serial killers in the past, which you often don't hear about. So it got my attention right away. I love true crime. I'm just part of that. I'm one of those girlies. So this got my attention, and I don't know anything more about it except for that premise, and I'm excited to get to it. The next 2 books here were also part of the buy one, get one 50% off, and the first one was Pet. I've been wanting to get to this book for a really long time. This is one that I've already read since purchasing it, and while I'm still kind of working with this book and sitting with my feelings on it, I can understand why it's gotten all the awards that it has. And Emezi is such a beautiful writer. Her prose is gorgeous, and she just has such a way with words to put these nebulous concepts onto the page in a way that makes complete sense. I'm in love with her writing, so I am excited to get to her other works, regardless of where I end up falling with this particular book. And the last one that was part of that sale is The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. This one very serendipitously, is that a word? It felt serendipitous that it caught my eye when I was going through the store because it had just been recommended to me by a family friend. So I decided that was a sign to go for it, especially since it was part of that sale. I don't know anything about this except that it was recommended to me by a friend who's much more into science fiction than I am, and I'm excited to get to it. This next one is also one that I know nothing about. I just picked it up because the cover called to me, and that was Yesterday. This is a translated work. I believe the original author is Chilean. Yes, from Chile. and I don't know anything about it. The cover caught my attention, and I've been really into short books, if you can't tell recently. Who is she? I don't know. But I've been really into the short stories. And so I just decided to pick it up. After the cover got my attention, I decided to read the blurb on the back, and that solidified that I was going to give this a shot because it just sounds so weird, so strange, that I was like, I have to see what this is about. So the back says, taking place over a single day, yesterday tells the story of a man and his wife wandering the streets of their city, killing time, and what diversions they find. In the public square, a man is guillotined for the crime of preaching the intellectual pleasures of sex. In the city's zoo, an ostrich swallows a marauding lion whole. In a restaurant bathroom, the narrator bungee jumps through time itself and manages to escape. Or does he? It just sounds so strange. And I was like, I don't know why, but this is calling to me. So I picked it up. We'll see what I think. It's small enough that I think I am going to bring this back to Japan with me. It's very easy, like pocket-sized book. So I definitely will be reading this in the next couple weeks. This next one I've been meaning to pick up forever, and I finally have it, and I'm very excited, and that is The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. I'm also so sad because some raspberry juice got on it, and you know how I feel about books, okay? It's a pure white cover. It bothers me, but we're going to ignore that, okay? I've been wanting to get my hands on this book for a long time, and just like Fond du Lis, anything by Ken Liu, I'm going to jump on. And so I read the first story in this collection via audiobook, and I just could tell by the first story that this is going to be too big brain for me to take in via audio, that I needed to really sit down and take the words in physically. So I decided to wait on this collection. And now that I finally have it physically, I can't wait to jump back in. I am going to reread the first story because I really enjoyed what I was able to get out of it the first time around. I've also just been in my short story era, as I previously mentioned. So I think this is perfect timing for this. I can't wait to pick it up. And this one I think I might bring back with me as well because I feel like I want to get to this soon. Speaking of Ken Liu, let's continue on that subject, and that is Broken Stars. This is a short story anthology of translated Chinese science fiction that Ken Liu curated and put together, also translated himself. And I picked this up because I am the co-host with my friend Tammy for her book club, which is, I believe it's called the Untitled Chinese Lit Book Club, where we read specifically translated Chinese literature. And this was our pick for August. Now, this has been a ride so far. The third story in this book, which is like the titular story, it's called Broken Stars. I'm still recovering from that story. I've sat with it for a long time and I still don't really know what to say about it. So look forward to our live if you want to hear my thoughts on that particular story. But I'm about halfway through and I decided to take a break because I read one of the much longer stories. There are two longer stories kind of sandwiched in the middle here. And I read that story and it just depressed me. I was like, I need a break from this kind of vibe. So I took a break and have been reading a bunch of other books. But I will pick this up again soon because the live isn't that far away. It's going to be maybe not the beginning of September, because it is the beginning of September. It's going to be maybe the middle of September. After I get back to Japan, we're going to touch base and figure out when to do a live for this. So please keep your eyes open for that news. But despite what I've said so far, I'm enjoying this because I have no idea what to expect every time I start a new story. The next one here I've been eyeing up for a really long time, and I finally just decided to go for it, which is Atomic Habits. I usually don't buy my nonfiction. I usually listen via audiobook, and then if I love it enough to think that I'm going to reread it again in the future, then I'll buy a physical copy. But I have seen this just absolutely fucking everywhere. And I don't know, the hardcover was pretty, and I had a moment of weakness, and I went for it. This is also one that I want to read soon because as a new mom, I'm really adjusting to a new schedule and having a baby around the house, and my habits have kind of gone out the window. And I really want to kind of begin to ground myself again and get to a place where I'm pretty happy with the habits that I have. So I think this is actually really good timing. I don't know if I'll bring it back with me. Yeah, see, I want to though. I want to read it. But bringing a hardcover back, I don't know. It's a debate. We'll see if I bring this back with me or not. But I do want to read it soon regardless. This next one was a very random choice, just wandering around the store. I also have already read this, and that is What Kind of Woman? This is a poetry collection. And I am not a huge poetry girly. I do enjoy it. E. Cummings is my favorite poet, but I don't really branch out to new poetry, if that makes sense. I stick with the stuff that I like and reread it over and over. But this one just caught my attention, the subtleness of the cover and just something about it called to me. So I decided to just open up to a random page and read one of the poems. And the poem that I opened up to was about motherhood and giving birth. And it's such a beautiful, short little poem, but it struck a chord with me immediately. I was like, this is coming home with me. I need it. I'll get more into my thoughts on the collection as a whole in my wrap up, but I am very glad that I got this, and I want to read more of Kate Bayer's work. These last 4 are all manga, and these were picked by Hayato for me based on my taste. He knows me very well, surprise, surprise. While we were wandering through the store, he was like, okay, I'm gonna pick a couple for you, and I want you to give them a shot. And I said, I'm not gonna complain about that. Let's do it. And so one of the first ones he picked for me was Hunter x Hunter. Now he's recommended this to me for a very long time, and other people have as well. And what he said that I would really like about this is the magic system. Now in his defense, the magic system hasn't appeared yet. So my thoughts on this series are based on like the part that he thought I would enjoy. That's not the way I want to say that. You get what I'm saying. So I haven't really reached the part that he recommended to me yet. Again, I'll get into my thoughts on this in a later video, but I have already read this, and I will, spoiler alert, I think I'm going to give this book, the first book at least, about 3 stars. Again, I'll get into my deeper thoughts in a later video, but basically here we follow a young boy who wants to be a hunter, which in his world is basically the elite of the elite, the people who basically go on adventures. From what I can tell thus far, there are different kinds of hunters. So there are some that are bounty hunters and go after people, or they're assassins, or they go after dangerous wild animals, basically go on missions, whatever missions floats their boat, it seems so far. And in this first book, we follow our main character as he embarks on the quest to go take the exam to be a hunter. Now these next 2 really exemplify a very strange thing for me, which is that manga, for some reason, that medium works for me when it comes to slice of life stories. I love everyday friendship group slice of life stories in the manga format or the anime format, but in almost no other format. Like, I hate that in my books. I have no desire to read contemporary, like high school books. So I don't know why it works in this genre and it doesn't in others. But that is the case. And the first one here that exemplifies that is Skip and Loafer. This, Hayato watched the anime and he was like, you're gonna love this. I know you so well. It is a ragtag group of friends coming together with different personalities. He said, you're gonna adore this. And he was right. Spoiler alert for my future thoughts. I really enjoyed my time with this, and I liked the flow of the panels and the art style as well. So I do think that I'm going to continue on with this story. Basically, we follow our main character Mitsumi, who is here, and she goes from the small town life of like a country bumpkin to go to high school in the big city in Tokyo. And through her just kind of being her own bumbling, charming self, ends up bringing a bunch of personalities together around her. One of them being a himbo. Another one is like a girl that seems very judgmental until maybe she starts to get to know some people. We've got a super beautiful popular girl. There's just a lot of people that come together and happen to kind of form around this main character. And I love stories like that. Fruits Basket is one of my favorites, and it very much has those same vibes. The next one, very much in the same vein, is Horimiya. We have 2 main characters in this one. One is Hori, who is the girl, and she's kind of effortlessly popular at school. Everyone loves her. She does really good with her grades, but secretly she's actually very much an introvert and spends almost all of her time at home cleaning and taking care of her little brother. Then we have our second main character, which is the boy Miyamura, basically the name Horimiya. That's where it comes from, surprise. And he looks like very much like a very quiet otaku boy at school, but secretly he actually is very fashionable, has a lot of piercings, and lives a life very, very different outside of school. And the 2 of them end up seeing each other outside of school, and we go from there. And finally, this last one is Monster. Now, this one I tried to read when I was much younger and basically too young to appreciate the story. So I've wanted to give this another shot now that I'm older for a long time. And Hayato has consistently told me that I'll love it. So what better time than now? So I picked up this omnibus edition. I'm not sure exactly how many books are collected into this one, but I blew through this and oh my God, I'm getting into reviews here. Let me not do this. I loved it. Let's just stop there. But I'm very glad that Hayato recommended this to me and I finally picked it back up because I ate this shit up and I cannot wait to continue. Basically, we follow a neurosurgeon who is the top of his field, and he gets kind of dragged into the politics of medicine. And he has this kind of moral crisis where he decides to go against what the higher ups are pushing him to do, and that really changes the trajectory of his life. I'm not going to give away the big twist in this, although I think it's kind of well known. I think it's been spoiled out there quite a bit. I'm not going to contribute to that, but just know that there is a huge twist in this book that really starts to play with morality, what's right, what's wrong, and looking into kind of the depths of humanity. I love the themes that Urasawa is diving into in this story, so please pick this up if you want like a thriller, a dark thriller that really delves into the grayness of humanity. We got a little review-esque in there at the end, but basically those are all of the books that I have purchased since being here or got in the mail since the last time that I was home. As you can see, I'm very much just in my short story, like short book era, and I'm just embracing it. I've also been reading a lot of things that aren't my typical fantasy, and again, I don't know why, but I'm rolling with it. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on them. You know I love to chat with you guys. And again, once again, look forward to my in-depth thoughts of the ones that I've already read coming soon in a wrap-up. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell. I'd love to have you as part of this community, and I appreciate it. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Jane!